Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Shadow and Sun Show, and welcome back to another Saturday night sci-fi Shadow Chat. Man, it has been a hell of a weekend. All kinds of cool stuff, all kinds of great stuff happened this weekend, including an incredibly large package that came in the mail. For those of you who know, you know. If not, like me, you're going to have to wait until the little guy gets back, because if I open it without him, I will be in for an ass whooping. Yeah, right. But sorry, there's no music tonight. I'm still working through that particular technical difficulty with my other device that happens to have it saved. I'm working on something, but I'm not sure exactly how I'm going to get that done. But I know you guys are missing the music. Like me, I get all pumped before a show. I play it once, and then it really gets me going. And we've got Rick from 28mm RPG to thank for that. And I hope you guys are having a great weekend, despite the heat in blistering sunny California, where it was, I kid you not, 109 freaking degrees, and with no end in sight. James, how the hell are you, my friend? I am going to be calling you maybe tonight after Nathan's show. Hopefully we'll see you on Nathan's show, or I will call you sometime tomorrow for certain. And it's been too long since we've had a good long chat. The little guy says hi. He's missing you. He's missing Hungar. He's missing DM James. He's missing all of you guys, but he's having a blast. He was at the beach today, and I'm not exactly sure where he was, and if he told me, I'd butcher the pronunciation. But apparently the water was almost freaking hot. Speaking of hot coffee, it was, the water was warm. Like I said, if not hot. I know Bo is right around the corner, I'm hoping. He has some things to say about tonight's topic. And while I know a lot of you people are probably thinking, like, genetic manipulation and mutations sounds like a comic book episode, but to be honest, I think there's some other types of sci-fi that this was really prevalent in, and I want to start, with some of the earliest of sci-fi that I think had it. Obviously, World War II was just ripe for that sort of imagination, being, chock full of mutations, genetic manipulation, eugenics, that whole sort of thing. So, Brian, if you're out there, feel free to hit the link and come on down and join us tonight. Otherwise, it's going to be a really boring show, which is me rattling on for 2 straight hours about this sort of thing. Omen, I know you're probably busy, but if not, come on in as well. So I hope everybody out there, hey, Crafting, how you doing? Looking forward to being in your game real soon here. I hope everybody is having a wonderful weekend, and hopefully wherever you are, it's not 109 freaking degrees, because that is literally for the birds, not this guy. Because I'm on a diet, but I want to lose weight, not actual body parts that fall off. There's my good friend Bo. For those of you who don't know, Bo from Bo Paints Minis. How you doing, buddy?
I'm all right. So where's our party? Where's our curated panel?
They're running around doing stuff. I'm sure they'll be joining us shortly. Sorry I had to leave last night, but early. I hope you guys were able to muddle through the game without me and got some stuff done.
It's quite the night. Look, I got a mission specially curated for you. I'm trying to make sure that all of the party members are involved with things that interest them. I've got you a new gun to play around with, and got all kinds of stuff going on.
I'm digging that. I really happened into that little line of thinking. An elite unit of mercenaries. Where are my pants? Travis, did you look in the refrigerator?
Freaking.
You know, I was thinking about you know, going somewhere with that. You know, taking these relics and turning them into something, you know, kind of Sardaukar like, or you know, some sort of elite, you know, hammers, slammers, or you know, the Mandalorians or something like that with this, you know, sort of, you know, ancient armor with you know, weapons that apparently are not, you know, highly in use in our era, but could be, you know, quite devastating, especially when you think about, you know, everybody's probably used to, you know, the report of heavy weapons and the blast of laser beams and all that, and here come these guys who just point and people just fall down, bubbling, you know,
Right.
uh, with you know, ancient stylized armor. That could be kind of awesome.
Sure.
You know, as much as my character wants to get back to, you know, the fold, a couple more years in there, and then, you know, muster out and use those skills to then, you know, do side missions, side jobs for folks. I really like that aspect of Traveler, the whole mercenary, uh, you know, the mercenary ticket, and you know, that whole book of Traveler, where you know, it's sort of, you know, just touched on the striker rules, with which was like the 10 or 15 millimeter, you know, mass combat
Combat.
using Traveler technology. Uh, I know so many refs hate, or maybe it's not the refs, but the players just don't want to get involved in that because they feel like, oh, now I'm just a little pawn in this giant battle, and I'll just get taken out like a piece on a chessboard. But I
Right.
really never found that to be the case. It's almost the apogee of combat. You know, you start out in these little skirmishes, you know, fighting orcs or you know, ogres or you know, bad guys of all shapes and sizes, and then you get to the real
Right.
battles. You know, the ones you read about in the books, whether it be history or Lord of the Rings, or you know, these epic size battles where you just look out and see troops for miles and miles.
Sure.
The movie Omen had us watch had a lot of that, where you know, you were seeing, you know, mass combat all over the place without the you know, necessarily focusing on just the characters, etc. What
And
did
you
Travis
can do
just say?
that with spaceships. You know, I think for all of the faults of the Lucas Star Wars prequels, I think that the way that they did the epic space battles with, you know, capital ships versus smaller ships versus fighters, and the visualization of that I thought was really good. And I can certainly see something like that happening where there's, you know, Marines landing on the enemy's capital ships, and you're trying to repel borders, and then you've got fighters and, you know, automated robots and, I don't know, death bombs and who knows what else going on. The sky's the limit.
Boarding actions, uh, craft with the death blossom from Last Starfighter, just all of it, you know, and literally, you know, I'm a big tank fan, and creepy crawlers and mechanized infantry and all that, you know, just being that, you know, just being able, you know, a character to look out on that, you know, to see it just erupting all around you, and you know, you could still roll out the combat, you know, and see how far you can push yourself to, you know, get behind enemies' front lines, to do the things, and you know, hoist your flag, Iwo Jima style.
Sure.
It's just so many players just, you know, feel like they're not ready for it because it's too wargamey. But I mean, you know, the hobby started out as wargaming.
Sure.
Let's, you know, maybe go full circle. I know this isn't the topic, but
Yeah.
I was just having so much fun thinking about that with the game we're in right now. So thank you for that. I hope Omen and Mark and Josh and Kevin and everybody out there is, you know, kind of thinking maybe, you know,
Oh,
when
I've planted earworms. I've planted seeds in a couple of the players' heads, you know, to deal with the possibilities. I'm really trying to run a sandbox game as much as possible. And a sandbox game typically means that the macro, you don't get to choose the macro. The macro goes on regardless of what you do if you can't intervene. I mean, if you can't stop the king from getting killed and you can't stop the civil war from starting, you can only decide how you interact with that and which side you take.
Cool, TCG. I look forward to checking that out. Yeah, dude, you're running a fine game. You know, not every table's the same, but we've got a good group.
We do.
We've got a really good
experienced
people. You know, and that's what I was talking about a while ago. You know, when I first started meeting you guys online and what have you, I was literally used to the same old group for years and years and years. I mean, some players for 20 plus years, you know, playing regularly. And when I met you guys, it's like, I mean, quite literally playing with nothing but dungeon masters. You know, there are very few people out there that just come to this little community, this circle of friends that we have as just pure players. I'm just a player. I've never dungeon mastered. I've yet to hear that. You know, every one of us is you know, a master,
Right.
and that brings to all of the games, even the one shots, a level of play that just, you know, makes a lot of my games, you know, feel kind of you know, but not entirely. I mean, I've had some epic memories with those guys, and I hope when I actually play with them again, it sort of rubs off, and they can see that, like, oh my gosh, dude, what happened? You know, your GM style is totally different. I know that there was a period a while ago when I started a new campaign, and I had that energy that we were talking about with DM James. When you get really enthusiastic as a GM for a new game or a new setting or whatever, and it just, you know, it just pumps that whole, you know, game experience up to the next level, right, just because of the enthusiasm, and, you know, you're freaking dying to get into it with the players.
Right. Absolutely. As long as the players don't intimidate you, you're fine, right?
Right.
Being an experienced group, the players can tend to have their own ideas about the way things should run, and I'm glad that the group that we have now is flexible enough to allow for different styles of gaming without being too without being too offended by it.
No, and you know, we've got a really good group. I mean, each one of them, you know, has something a little bit different than the rest. You know, Owen's played, you know, scores of different games that we'll never even pick up the books for. Mark has got a solid base in some of the, you know, the core games of the hobby from way back, and you've never been in one of his games. He's a really good freaking GM. He's really solid. You know, he comes across, you know, kind of quiet sometimes, but when he's the GM, he's on it, dude. He's on it. And, you know, Kevin, he's got solid background in the game we're playing. Like,
and we talked about we talked about other games that we would like to, if we ever got to a point where we could, you know, take turns running games. And I was trying to talk Josh into either running a Hero Systems game or a Call of Cthulhu game. We have all of our bases covered. We have a you know, a monster game, a sci-fi game, and a fantasy game, just so we could run a smorgasbord of a buffet of different games. And I mean, if you wanted to run a Western game or a Weird West game or a Weird World War II game, that would be fun. When the GMs
if we could get either Brian or myself to run a World War II game, I got a great idea for like an overall story plot that's going to underlie, you know, something. But I don't know if I could really pull it off with lack of, you know, historical knowledge. But maybe I could write, you know, the skeleton for him to run it, and you know, forget what I told him, kind of thing.
Right. Well, if it's I'm more of a, then it doesn't have to be canon. It can always be an alternate universe, or an
Mhm.
alternate history.
Yeah, me personally, I'm more of a sci-fi fantasy kind of that's where my strengths lie. Mixing freaking everything. I mean, literally everything into one big freaking galaxy of Gonzo craziness. I would love
You
to
can run
see.
an Arduin game. I
Yeah,
mean, if I
I'm
was
definitely
playing
gonna be
an
doing.
Arduin Grimoire and I was trying to decide what rule set would be of the available rule sets, which one would be best for running that game, because it doesn't have rules per se. It has alternate rules.
Yeah.
Right?
Uh, I honestly, I think the new system that's coming out is going to be more comprehensive,
Yeah,
incorporating everything from every book that's good, and just shaking out the loose ends and having a nice cohesive system. We're going to have George on again real soon to talk some more about that. But he definitely wants me to run a game, and I'm looking forward to that
Sure, absolutely.
because of all the because I can't even call it a straight fantasy game. I mean, it really tries to be that, but brings in all the other stuff, to
No,
make
it's
it
still
gonzo.
the
Hey
Earth.
Brian, what are you doing? Hit the damn link. Get in here.
Who's that?
Brian.
Oh, I've got
He's just
questions actually that are on topic for tonight. So I can't wait to get into the discussion because I'm very anxious to pick your brain. And it regards like some of the texts that we talked about earlier regarding mutations and genetic not genetic engineering so much as genetic alterations. I mean, I guess.
Mhm. Well,
Um,
I was toying with the same words, to make up the title because it is kind of the same thing. You know, there's so many ways you can incorporate it. I think World War II is probably the earliest we can really justify it. Although I was wondering, would you consider Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde being something akin to genetic manipulation?
I mean, without calling it, without calling it genetic engineering, without calling it genetic manipulation, I would definitely call it a mutation. And I was thinking about incorporating mutations into if you don't have rules for mutations. Okay, say if you got a game without rules, but you have going to I hate to use the word homebrew. I don't like it. I think it's got a lot of negative connotations. But if you're going to add alternate rules for mutations, you give the players some kind of roll against their health score, if they've got whatever game system that is. There's typically some kind of Constitution-esque score, and you
That's how it was
roll
done in
against
Gamma
that,
World. It
and
was
then
literally
you
done
take a
that way
roll
in Gamma World.
every, maybe make the effects cumulative. You're exposed to this thing for a day. You take one roll. You're exposed to it for 2 days. You take two rolls until you get a positive result, and then you go to something like again, like Chalt, you go to your Chalt book where you've got, grow an extra limb, grow a tentacle, grow a third eye right in the middle of your forehead, and then stat out the rules. What does that mean? You could do it
So I
like
mean, you're talking about mutations that are happening, like you're normal and then you've been mutated.
I'm talking about mutating player characters or NPCs over the course of the game. And I think
The original to this day is yet to be surpassed. I know a lot of people like Mutant Crawl Classics, but that's for people who want to memorize like an 800-page book when you can memorize an 80-page book. No offense, but any version of Gamma World up until 4th edition, which I was not a fan of, did it eloquently, simple, covered just about every mutation you could possibly think of. And I freaking love this game. Obviously you could say, what was it? Metamorphosis Alpha was the precursor, but it was so contained within that ship that it just really didn't work for me. I wanted, Earth. I wanted different countries that are all freaking weirded out and rusted and, rubbleized, etc.
right.
Why not play a more current World War III scenarios can serve as fun in a real world mission planning? Oh, absolutely. That's what was good about Gamma World. It was a World War III or something like that. So you don't really know what happened to the world, and then suddenly, you're raised in a burned out shelter, from hundreds of years ago, and your tribe is, made up of mutated animals, plants, and humans. Occasionally a pure strain human who's totally immune to the mutational effects. Yeah, I know. I love that. It was so freaking, so 70s. You know what I mean? It was just, and personally, that's what I prefer to run was pure strain humans. Some sort of leftover. You woke up in a cryo chamber, and this whole world is just crazy, like Commandy Last Boy on Earth, that sort of thing. You guys remember that?
Yeah. Boy and His Dog.
Yep. Hey,
Frogtown.
Hey.
Hell Comes to Frogtown. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Last Man.
I worshiped Slanesh, and all I got was this lousy crab claw.
Exactly.
That's it.
That's what I'm talking about.
Man.
Wait.
You went to the wrong party, man.
You didn't get the extra boob? I mean, come on.
I have a question then. I mean, how do players deal with unwanted mutations? I mean, is that going to make you want to flip the table and go home like you're playing Monopoly? You fail a health roll, and I roll on the table and say, well, yeah, now you got an extra ear growing out of your elbow or something like that. And
it depends on the game, and like everything else, is I would get mad if I was playing something that was more heroic. Now, if you're doing something like Call of Cthulhu or
if it's a dud, they'll be pissed. Like, oh wow, I grew a hairy eyeball. That's not going to help you at all.
You know what? Having played tons and tons and tons of Gamma World, it was kind of the thing. You knew if you're playing Gamma World, that was a strong likelihood because there were a lot of mutations that were defects, and all you needed was one good freaking mutation, and you were just loving life. I mean, you get an extra attack, you can fly. Hell, maybe you could teleport. One of the versions allowed you to go forward and backward in time. Holy crap. That was freaking epic. I had a character who actually got that one. And instead of going backward in time, to find out what was going on, he kept going forward and forward and forward in time, saying, screw you guys, I'm going there.
So what are the implements of mutation? Is it like a secret ray, or you ate some mushroom, or what are the implements of mutation? Like radiation?
It depends on the game. It's like you said.
Yeah.
It's up to your imagination. As long as it's the great thing about science fiction, as long as it's remotely plausible.
Exactly.
Then you're fine.
Keep popping up tonight.
Virus.
Plausibility.
But what do you think a time travel would be like? You got stuck by like a cosmic nullifier or something. It blew up in your hand or something.
Honestly, go ahead, Owen.
If you're playing Numenera, then absolutely I understand that because that's a gonzo absolute weird one. The same thing with Gamma World or Mutant Call Classics. If you're doing a hard sci-fi and I see it, then I would get pretty pissed off. If you're going to play The Expanse, no. Shouldn't be there. If it's going to be something, it's usually going to be that you're looking at very long.
What about what was that one Star Trek where I forget who the character was, where he started being able to read people's minds and getting more and more powerful.
Yeah.
The guy with the freaking weird eyes. I forget. God, it's been so long, but I could see.
Yeah.
But at that point, you're looking at something altering you. I mean, like in Babylon 5, the Vorlon actually altered people, and that's what people forget about is it's not something that's instantaneous. You just don't get it. It's something that takes a long time. If I was going to do the whole thing like you're talking about for players, it's like, look, you're part of some giant experiment. It takes years to do this. There's always negative side effects. The Star Trek would be an NPC if you're going to look at that. But in some place like Gamma World or what is it, Marvel and all that stuff. That's supposed to be fantastical, and you go into it. And then if you're doing something that, if you're being in a fantasy style game, let everyone's Alice in Wonderland. Eat the mushroom, you get big. Eat this, you get small. Those all count as mutations too. Or let's not forget our favorite 40K. You're born with one. You're just born with.
Or even Marvel, the whole mutant era from the Hellfire Club, or even issue 101, whatever, when Claremont took over the X-Men, and it started getting really dark right early on. One of the best comic books of all time, the X-Men, from that era where mankind was perfectly fine with freaking aliens, but God help you if you get born with a mutation, you were the freaking scum of the earth, instant terrorists, on the watch list. That was back then in the 80s. That was freaking hardcore. That was just
like, you're talking about the 80s. Remember the island of Genosha, where they're like, it's almost like a Nazi Germany, but they were like enslaving the mutants to act as like cattle to do stuff.
Hard labor, to do the hard jobs, to do things that almost like they were
powers,
robots,
to do stuff,
to lift the girders, or walk into the fire or whatever. That was a brutal era as well as X Factor, where they pretended to be the mutant hunters. That was freaking mind blowing. Where the X-Men put on different costumes to go hunt down the mutants, pretending to not be mutants, only to rescue them, so to speak. That was genius. I love that comic book. And I didn't really want to go into comics that much, but you kind of got to touch on it, because that is the genre that incorporates all the other genres the easiest. And I don't necessarily mean superheroes, but I actually mean comic books, because there have been comic books from everything from romance and true crime all the way to freaking Star Wars, for all intents and purposes, type of science fiction, fantasy, everything freaking goes.
A movie that you guys talk a lot about is Total Recall, the mutations on Mars from Klaatu or whatever his name is, and the guy's back.
Quattro or something. That was freaking. That was so freaking.
So
and the way they did it, and the Venture Brothers. Oh my God, that was beautiful. With the little lawyer. Oh my God. That was the best.
And the guy's like drooling, the big dude. He's just like drooling there.
I mean, well, since we're talking weird, in your case with the Cthulhu stuff, how do mutations come about?
Usually just from
I'm talking about Brian in particular.
Okay.
In our weird, in my weird World War II, because it's usually like the Cthulhu mythos idea, like aliens or interdimensional beings zapping people, doing whatever, or it's the tech, the forbidden tech, like the Nazis are experimenting with whatever, or the Japanese, in their unit, 767 or 773, whatever it is.
Russia was right for that as well.
Yeah, Russia too. So and what's great about Weird World War II is that all of this stuff was real, man. The Nazis were doing evil shit to the Jews and all the other imprisoned peoples. The Japanese were doing it. The Russians were doing it. And although they didn't come up with any kind of super soldiers or monsters or whatever, but the intent, was like, what can we do to make something better? And if you go with the fantastic, these are all dark topics in reality, but when you take these into a comic book, high adventure mentality, you can warp that kind of science in, or that, visitation, or that, you're making dark, pacts with dark deities. And that's where you get your like mutations or your stuff like that. At least for me.
That's right.
Right, exactly, James. 40K with all of their stuff, they whether they've got both sides doing it, except maybe the Eldar, because they're kind of like over it. But the humans, they're doing their stuff, making Space Marines. You got Chaos doing it with with raw, bridled freaking chaos magic power that can't help but mutate. And here you got the humans over here, scientifically trying to do specific, exact, reproducible effects over and over and over to create the super soldier to fight the freaking craziest abomination you could think of.
What's great about the Cthulhu stuff is it all has price. You know what I mean? It's like you have this power, and if it's kind of like in 40K the orcs. The orc stuff is phenomenal if it works. That's the whole thing. If it works right, it works. But if it doesn't, it blows up in your face, or you're shooting the guy behind you, or whatever it is. But it's just like with Cthulhu, the Cthulhu stuff. It's like there's always a price to it. And there's always, there's a limitation of how far you can go for so long before you're zapped.
Right.
Or mutated beyond recognition, or you're a gibbering
mind blasted.
Let's take a look at it
floor.
Like harder science fiction. Like Owen was saying, we look at things like Starship Troopers book and movie, right? With the psychics. Even the dog handlers were psychics to an extent. Things like Dune with the guild navigators were mutants. The mentats to a degree were mutants. Where do you draw the line then in your science fiction settings? Are you willing to take it, all the way to
who's a great character?
Like X-Men?
Like Dr. Manhattan. Have you guys ever read the Dr. Manhattan? No? He's Dr. like Manhattan? Zapped. Yeah, from the Watchmen.
Oh, yeah.
Favorite comic book. Favorite comic book. Favorite fucking movie of all time.
Well, Dr. Manhattan gets like zapped.
Literally changed my life.
Yeah. He's also the only real superhero in that universe.
Yeah, but what happens is he elevates to like he's not human anymore.
No, he doesn't.
And it's great.
But it's playing on the tropes of superheroes, and which makes it more sad when he gets fooled by Osmodeus.
Yeah.
But I think that some of those tropes were inverted intentionally.
Oh, definitely.
To make the
story. That was the one thing that kept him sort of, from being literally a god, was that he was outsmarted by the world's smartest flea. Yeah. He wasn't yet a god, but he was close. He was too close. So they had to, bring him down a little. And in the end, it would be incredibly interesting to see what became of him. But, no one's going to do that right except.
It was almost like humanity was too hard for him to deal with. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
His relationships and all that crap.
If Alan Moore wrote a sequel, that would be, I would read that. But if it's on TV, on the CW or something like that, it's going to be crap. And they're never going to do it justice. Whatever they did for the TV show, I guarantee I would hate every second of the very first episode. Throw something at my TV and never watch it again.
Well, the problem is the writers, which they're on strike now, so it doesn't really matter anyway.
Hey, we might get some good stuff out of Hollywood now.
Now go back to what Bo was asking. It really depends on what the players have agreed to play. I think that if you're doing a bait and switch, they're going to rage quit. Now, if you come over and say, "Hey, look, there are things that come in," if you're playing 40K. And you're doing Dark Heresy, that can occur. If you're playing the Expanse, you'd be kind of pissed off if all of a sudden you do like a third limb or something. It's like, wait a minute, you're looking the difference between.
Well, if it's specifically stated in the social contract that you don't want anything like that, cool. But I see, or I feel that you're still doing science fiction, and there's the fiction part in there where anything is possible. If you make it, fit the tone and the theme of the game. When I was talking about that Star Trek character that became almost godlike, that fit the show. If somebody or even a group of people in the Expanse, something like that, if they went, a shuttlecraft had to leave the main ship. I've never seen the show, but the crew had to leave the main ship.
Man, it's great, dude.
And some shit happened to them on the way to landing on a planet, right? And they get hit with gamma rays, and next thing they know, one guy's turning all rubbery and the other guy's catching on fire. And you know what I'm saying? I could maybe see that. And, you know, okay, well, you guys are going to be staying on this planet, and you guys are stuck, and, you know, you're going to have to figure out a way to make a new society, and then we're going to go back to, you know, the Enterprise or the ship or whatever. I'm assuming it's very Star Trek-like.
No, not at all.
No, it's not
more like
at all.
Space 1999.
Okay.
It's that's my point. Is Expanse is much more hard science fiction. Now they
It's
do have
hard
mutations.
science.
It does have mutations in there, but it's you know, there's always that you know, where they have that proto-molecule, but that's the whole point of it. That's why I use the Expanse as one extreme versus something else in there, like 40K, which you know that's going to happen. And I said, okay. And that's why you're saying it fits tone and theme. I have no problems with it if you're going to use it in some place like Alien, which is a horror, because it is horror. That's one of the worst things that can happen is to watch yourself slowly mutate into something.
Why?
Yes, exactly.
That was a great one. That easily falls under the genetic manipulation, the creating a gene splicer. Imagine, my friends and I always, you know, kind of ripped apart the transporter, the holodeck, total recall technology. And if you had one, or God help you, if you had all three technologies, what you could do, you could literally re-engineer humanity into whatever the company wanted, so to speak. I mean, literally.
Right. And Star Trek made that in the Star Trek universe, that's illegal. It's sort of like
it would be.
It's like the unforgivable curse, at least in the Next Generation. No, pardon me. Well, in that universe, it was in Deep Space Nine. They made, you know, genetically engineering people was expressly verboten and incredibly punishable.
Gene Wars or whatever.
Which means that it was guaranteed actually being done by the Deep State Federation forces behind the scenes. You guarantee that shit was like in high gear. There's no way I could ever believe that they would not, you know. It was like when Kirk stole the cloaking device, and then you never saw it again. You knew damn well.
Well, that right. You'd have to play that in your game. You know, if you're some games in some game universes just have that degree of naivete where there is nothing like that. The good guys wear white hats, the bad guys wear black hats. And if you're playing a game like that, then that's fine. But if you are playing a game that has more grit, then you acknowledge that and you play that accordingly in your game too. I'm not saying one's better than the other, but it's kind of like what Omen said. What do you expect in the game when you sat down?
Well,
absolutely.
How is it portrayed to you by the dungeon master is the most important thing. That's why I said it's the bait and switch. You know, you're saying, well, explicit. It's not just explicit. I would get kind of pissed off if I'm saying, okay, we're going to go play a, the space cowboy, Buck Rogers style. Like, oh, okay, that sounds cool. And then you go over and you're like, all right, now I'm going to make it more like Alien. Wait a minute, you did a bait and switch on me. That's very different than saying, hey, we're going to play Alien, and there is mutations, and they will put the black goo on you, and you will become a monster if this occurs. And players, if they're going for it, like, okay, I'm willing to accept this. That's the same thing.
Right. I don't think there are too many refs nowadays. Maybe back when we were younger, we all may have been partially guilty of something to that, you know, trying to get somebody into a new game and leaving out certain details or something like that. But I think today, for the most part, you know, if you've got a good group and you understand the social contract and everybody gets to put their 2 cents in worth with what they like and don't like before the game, so that, you know, everybody at least gets a roughly enjoyable experience, you know, where there's a reason for them to join the game. I mean, if you falsely advertise your game as one thing, you're going to find your players, mutinying, and you're going to find fewer and fewer players willing to come to your table. I think we've all, for the most part, grown past that. And if we come across a game that is one thing, and we show it to our friends, say, hey, I want to run this game. Anybody interested? And you get no takers. Well, come back a year from now, and you know what? You never know. They're probably going to be like, oh my God, why have you been hiding this from us? And it'd be like, well, I showed you last year. You weren't in the mood. Moods change as quickly as light bulbs in this hobby. Just ask some of our friends out there who bounce from game to game to game to game on a regular or semi-regular basis. We're pretty fickle sometimes, and
you guys have talked about in depth about not running a game for people, but running, like having this open world and they can decide what they want to do, right? But what you're also saying, you keep mentioning the social contract. In essence, you are pigeonholing yourself to this scenario or this genre or whatever it is, and you're kind of backtracking on this open world. You can do whatever you want. In essence, you can insert whatever they want, and then they can respond to it or move away from it. You know what I mean?
Well, some things are hard to move away from. Despite this, the movement speed of a Shaga, if there's one in your world, you're going to keep bumping into it. No, I think with the social contract, it's not so much, although it can be things like X cards, but it's, some basic things that you're looking forward to in a game, not necessarily specific events or powers or abilities or types of adventure, but, some bare bones ideas that you want to set the tone and the flavor and the feel, not the railroady aspects of I want to do this and this to get to my final destination. A good sandbox will have a lot of things and should have a lot of things that the characters absolutely detest and want to get the hell away from. If it's a true open sandbox, you're going to have these things just like the real world has, traffic stops, on New Year's Eve, shit you don't want to run into, but they're going to be there. You just got to go around it the long way, especially in my neck of the woods where they advertise the traffic stops before New Year's Eve. They tell you what street they're going to be on, which just to me is retarded. But okay, fine. It's going to be on this street from here to here. Well, nobody is going to go on that street that night. And well, lo and behold, everything's better. Crime's down. Thanks to the boys in blue. They're doing a bang-up job, and everybody's happy.
This is completely off topic, but then I want to ask you, Shadow, how do you feel about highway patrolmen in unmarked cars? It's the same thing.
Road pirates.
Road pirate. If they're a deterrent, and if the guy says, well, I don't want to go down that street, and then that's the same thing. I agree. So I'm all in favor of announced roadblocks for that reason. Because it's a deterrent.
I don't drink.
Not a
I don't drink, and I don't drive. So
we don't have roadblocks in Texas. It's against the law here in Texas.
They don't have roadblocks, but they'll put 12 cars over in Mopac ready to go if they go a few miles over the speed limit. But no. Here's
I firmly live by the adage of play stupid games, win stupid prizes. I'm really safe and careful in my life. Being a dad does that to you. I don't have to worry about that stuff. If you're doing those things, and I was in a point in my life where I did play stupid games, and I won more than my fair share of stupid prizes. I've got a closet full of stupid prizes. If you're a gambling man, rock on. If you're a family man, maybe it's not the thing for you.
I'm going to be a little different, which is, I know, getting back on topic, when you're talking about determining, I hate saying this as a dungeon master or whatever, I am actually creating stuff for the players. And I expect the players to come back and give me feedback so I can do it. I'm not playing the game for myself. I'm playing it for them and enjoying watching what I create and what they go for. And when they blow my mind, that's the greatest thing ever. That's what I'm living for.
I'm a little 60-40 on that. I am playing for my own selfish reasons. That being to show off some worlds and some NPCs and some thought-provoking ideas that I think I would like to see my friends try and deal with. Kind of that big game of what if. What would you do if?
But I want to do it so they enjoy it. If I'm doing it just
oh God, no! I want them to freaking cringe in misery from the choices I make them choose between.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, it has to be enjoyable both ways. If they're doing stuff, they're not making it fun for you. Then it's like I'm done. Yeah, I know, but it sometimes whenever people talk about it, they act as if no, they're going to play my game. If they don't like it, like okay, good, you have no players.
Exactly.
I mean, that's really good. And then the opposite is, I only live for them. And I'm not enjoying it. Look, if I'm not enjoying it, I'm going to tell the players, look, I'm not enjoying the way you're doing this. Could you do this because it's a little bit more fun? It works both ways. Yeah, I mean, if the person doesn't want to do it,
of course.
If the person doesn't want to do it, then guess what? Okay, fine. I'm out. It's not what they want.
Again, it's like you're kowtowing to how the players want to play. And listen, I'm mixed on that because and unlike you guys, I enjoy telling these stories, and I come up with these big epic stories. But and I'm hopeful that they go along the ways that I want them to. But if they don't, they don't. But but yeah. So I mean, we do kind of cater to the gamer, because you want to say, oh, we're making this sandbox and we need to keep, that, but we're really, I mean, we do sacrifice what we want to do for them to please them so they'll come back to the table.
Well, no. Well, it's
obviously there has to be some give and take.
Yeah.
And I agree with that.
It's a push-pull kind of thing like everything else, which is, it's just like, all right, fine, I'll do this because it makes them happy, but then they'll do this because it makes me happy.
Because I've seen DMs that are like, it's all mine. I'm doing this. This is how we do it. He plays by himself.
Yep, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like
you can always count on me to play with myself.
That's right. You're in the basement.
I'm in the basement.
I mean,
for me,
so it is. It's a fine line. It's a fine line. I mean, because again, I've heard you guys debate on like, not telling the story, making it lethal, and all this stuff. But then you also you have to show restraint because you need these people to come back. And when you guys know, as you play these games, those people, they get attached to these characters and the stories that they've evolved through.
Yeah, that is a huge issue that I did a multi-part series on. That's why I like games that are really, really lethal, so that everybody goes in knowing that you can get attached to this character, but you could also get detached from that character really quickly. And it tends to be those games where characters can easily get powerful that happens with. When you're playing, like I'm in Rick's 28 millimeters Traveler game. I just had my legs blown off last weekend. Okay. Right. Fortunately, my suit sealed it off, so I'm stumpy, laying out hundreds of yards away from everybody. They don't even know what happened to me. I just went flying through the air. They probably think I'm vaporized. My suit's, fizzling and sparking, and, I'm probably going to die, but it's Traveler character. I will make up another one, and it take me like 10 minutes tops, except for maybe buying equipment, which the GM will immediately take away from me and put me in some situation where, should I even bother buying equipment this time? Kind of thing. So,
it's
certain
Traveler.
games
He's
easier.
Legs. It's Traveler. He's going to get new legs. I mean, that's just what
stick some.
It's also like Traveler's got
guns on your legs.
They'll either get you robot legs or they'll clone you some legs.
Well, no. This is what's going to happen. They're going to find him. He's all burned up. They're going to go over. They're going to put him in. he's going to put him in this black suit, and he's going to get a James Earl Jones voice, and he's going to turn evil from that point. No, I mean, but
Here's the open.
Well, here's the other part is players are okay with it. Like I've heard a lot of players, I don't want to play any other games. And then I mention Alien, and I show them Alien. They know what they're in for. They know that it's going to be super lethal. And the problem that most of them have is like you don't want to bring the alien in too often because then you have the party dies in like the first act. But you do want to bring that in, and yes, that's what they want. And to be fair, sometimes you want to play Alien with the horror aspect, and sometimes you want to play Aliens and just kick butt and mow everything down. Okay, what do you want to do? That's where you go, okay, what type of game are we going to play? And, just like you're talking about with Cthulhu, if I went over and said, hey, let's play a World War II game, I'm like, no, thanks. And then you're like, but.
With tentacles.
Yes, then you're like, I'm in. I mean,
How is it all you got to say is tentacles?
That's it, brother.
And you're going to get just about 9 out of 10 people wanting to join in for all kinds of different reasons, you never know what you're in for, but it's going to be a lot of fun.
But that's my point.
How's that happen?
It's okay for it to be highly lethal if they know it beforehand. It's that whole idea. If I'm playing with the 6-year-olds and I'm just like, oh, look, I get to take out your characters, and also they're like rated R, blood spurting and stuff. It's like, no, that's inappropriate for that group, and especially the poor kids when they're crying. I mean, if you get the kids to cry, something's wrong. If it's all Bambi, shoot the mom. No, it's.
I got to read a couple of comments from James because he ends the third one with a freaking has me on a roll, not a baguette, but a roll. A good GM will build multiple forks in the road. Some of them may remain untouched, but the party shouldn't be conflict adverse because that's the same. Because that is some wimpy stuff. Okay, and then
no, you can run away. No.
Yeah, exactly.
Robin ran away. Danger turned its ugly head. He bravely turned his tail and fled.
Well, you know what though is sometimes running away is actually the funniest part. If anyone remembers The Princess Bride, that he comes over and he says, "You killed my father," and the guy suddenly picks up and runs away.
Yeah, sure.
Wait a minute. I did the same thing when I was playing D&D one time. My character suddenly picked up and left. Going back to mutations, if I know what to expect in the game, and he says, "Hey, look, we're going to have some occult stuff with World War II. Think Indiana Jones, and some of the stuff that goes on there," and then he starts bringing Cthulhu. I'm in. I'm good. I understand that. Okay.
You hear that, Brian?
I heard it.
Brian. We're in.
Yeah.
James also said, if the party is avoiding danger and just grinding for items, a la Warcraft, what's the freaking point? I'm going to add in there.
Wait, I don't know. My campaign doesn't have items in it, so what does it matter, right? Don't give them items.
Here's the thing. We all used to play that way, right? We all are probably guilty of playing something like that. Just because we're older, mature, wiser, enlightened, if you will, doesn't mean that there are other people out there that aren't. That's where they're at right now. Okay, they'll catch up to us. The better they are, the faster they'll catch up to us. Because to be honest, there's some games where I wouldn't mind being like that right now. There's some games where I wouldn't mind getting into that that reminiscent nostalgic feel and play of some of the games that I used to play, but with a better group and a better class of people that can handle a little bit more maturely and add a little bit more realism and a little more depth to it. But I'm not gonna lie, I freaking love magic items. I know there is a physical almost addictive quality to leveling up built into many games that's hard to resist certain kinds of folks, myself included. Leveling up, fucking love it. What's not to love about it?
Everything's based in this like achievement goal oriented thing. I'm at your job or your video games, you know, I gotta get this to get this, and oh my God, we're to the next level. Yeah, it's just like
And
It
Brian,
really
it doesn't
does.
work for me.
It
What's
really
that?
does elicit a physical response. Go ahead, Bo.
No, I said that doesn't work for me because I always, at least as I've matured, I've seen role playing games more cinematic. And I love the
See, that's,
example of John
you used
McClane.
the key
When
word
John
there, Bo.
McClane goes through
Mature.
the top Takanomi Plaza and shoots everybody up, he gets a machine gun, he gets some C4 explosives, but he never levels up. He finishes the adventure the same level he was when he started.
You see, you're using that word.
but
Do I strike you as a mature guy?
I'll say you're wrong there, Bill, and let me tell you why. There were 4 other sequels from it.
Okay, so he levels up.
Each story got bigger and bigger.
Now, leveling up between adventures is something different. Leveling up between campaigns is something different than leveling up on the fly.
I'm going to mention something to James Bell here because he mentions the baguette. Go play Zach McCracken from the 1980s because they had this where you had to get a piece of bread, and the guy's like, "No, you don't want our bread." He's like, "Yes, I do." He's like, "No, you don't. Trust me." And they're like, "It's stale." And he's like, "All right, you asked for it." In the second story, he throws out a baguette, and it lands in the sidewalk and cracks the concrete. It's a great video game. We used it as a weapon. We used it to dig. I mean, it's a video game. It's hilarious for that. But I highly recommend anyone that's ever seen that when he mentions the baguette. Yes, the baguette was more dangerous than a rifle.
The thought of a baguette, like a stained baguette with that side.
Hey, Raven, long time no see.
This is just hilarious.
I'm gonna, the whole thing I think of whenever we talk about mutations is, are the mutations?
Oh, is that what we were talking about? Mutations?
I know. Well, I want to get back on the topic.
I thought we were talking about baguettes.
Well, you know what? You can have a baguette come out of your head. Anyway,
there you go.
Flip top head, man. Flip top head.
It's the but I think part of it, whenever you're coming into this, is are the mutations intended to be fun? Are they intended to be horrific? And they need to match that kind of feeling about the game.
Can't they do both?
Yeah. Well, it's that's true, but you know what I mean is like you're saying, oh, I get time travel, I get this, I get that. Instead of going, oh my God, I'm starting to get scales. I need to hide this before everyone thinks that I'm corrupted and they're going to all kill me. That kind of thing.
Sure.
Those are 2 different types of games that I mean. If you're not playing a game to have fun, then what are you doing? Yeah.
And I'll be honest with you, a lot of the people that I RP with are relatively new to it, right?
Sure.
And they're not like the diehards that we are. They didn't grow up with it. They don't delve into all this literature and all this mechanical ideas and stuff. And that is where the like cinematic comes into play. You know what I mean? You get them hooked with the cinematic adventure, and it's like watching you're playing a movie, and it hooks them. And then from there, as we were younger, as we start to evolve and get mature in our gaming, we realize that there's a more like crunchy way to play, and it's that you kind of hook them. That first cinematic adventure-ish thing.
Absolutely, that's exactly what I was describing a moment ago when I was talking about I had run a new game and I had a new kind of enthusiasm. It was trying, it revolved around me describing certain situations and making the opening game, like a Michael Bay movie, the freaking explosion within the first 5 seconds, and they're like freaking hooked. What the hell, It was a fantasy Dungeons and Dragons game, but with 6 guns and shootouts and a horse chase through the town. Someone threw a freaking stick of dynamite, blowing up a bridge behind them. But it was D&D. But with those little things thrown in, and they're just like, "Oh my God, what the hell did you do? Where did you?" And I'm like, if you get them hooked like that in the first game, you can set the tone and set the standard from that point on, at least in the play style, not necessarily the genre or whatever. That usually comes as a group consensus, we want to play a hard sci-fi game or a mutant, weird game or something gonzo or whatever. But if you can, with the first game, set the tone and the feel of it, as cinematically as possible, you can also use it to break some bad habits and, do the more immersive thing if that's what you want, or, get into, all kinds of new crunchy rules if that's what you're, interested in.
I'm going to bring this up because well, except Brian here, we've all played in Bo's game. We all like the simplicity of the game, for GURPS. I do not like GURPS character creation. I despise it. That's the real reason I hate GURPS. But once we actually get going, it's fine.
Yeah. Mechanics. Roll 3 dice. What's your number?
Well, you have that. I like the 2D20, which favors cinematic. I like cinematic games the older I get. I used to love the crunchier and the more dice we roll and the more, let's go down, dig way, way down. Now I'm older. I'm like, now throw that out. Here, I should be able to roll some dice and just go. I don't want to have to go look in the book and find out all the different things and go, let's get the giant chart and do the, if we do this and then go to point B and then go to point C. And if we follow this, I said, and if we're all fighting over, the rules lawyers, which I was a really bad one when I was younger. As I'm older, I was horrible. I was terrible. I was terrible. And I was really, really bad. And I was a min-maxer, so that didn't help either. I was found all the things. So, and what it really comes down to in that aspect is trust the DM. Now, I don't mind randomness.
Thank you. Thank you. Love that expression. Without it, you have nothing.
All right. So I am called to supper.
Uh-oh.
So,
man.
Step away. Enjoy your meal. Thank you for showing up, Bo. And Poofy's gone.
I'm going to say this much is when you're okay with the randomness, mutations can be a lot of fun. Like you said, Shadow, it's like, let's see what we get. The whole thing with, and again, I haven't played Gamma World. I can only say what I see in MCC. Man, it's all over the place. You understand you're going to be mutated. And you're like, well, do I want to be the mutated guy or not?
Yep. It's like, I think that's why I may have to send you a copy of the original Gamma World, the first edition. It's a beat-up, raggedy copy, but I couldn't get $5 for it on eBay. Maybe wait a decade and it'd be worth $1,000. But it was so simple. It had so much of the rulings over rules, except on some basic principles that made it really easy, really open-ended to do whatever you want with it. A nice system of flowcharts to figure out the weird technical relics of the past. And it was really simple. And all they did from that point on was make it a little bit more complicated as it went on. And the more I get older, the more I want a simple set of rules that, no matter how drunk my players are, they can freaking, remember, 1 + 1 = 2. And just play the character, not the freaking character sheet, because your character sheet's mostly
that's a big thing. I'll tell people, say, what do you want to do? Just tell me what you want to do. That's all you got. You don't have to roll shit. You don't have to look at your damn P. What do you want to do? And I'll tell you what to do. I'll tell you mechanically. I'll say, roll this and let me look at your sheet, add 7. That's it. But I want to hear what you are going to do.
And you know what? If thing that I know. That's kind of the cool thing that comes out is
here we go.
What's going on?
Oh.
Hello.
James, how the hell are you, my friend?
I'm really sore, but otherwise I'm good.
Did you work out?
You're great. Who you kidding, man?
Did you work out, James?
Nah, I've been doing stretches all morning, though.
Break dance.
See,
fight.
look.
Okay.
I'm just here because I've barely spoken to another human being all week.
Oh man, that sucks, man.
I'm like a Benedictine monk. I've taken a vow of silence for the week.
I've got the entire house to myself. Hop on a plane, come hang out with me. We'll play some games, and tear up the place and torment the dog, and.
Well, I will one day, but I'm not going via Delta next time. I'll tell you that. Like,
Or spirit.
jeez, that was a bad time.
Well, it's the if you can fly Cathay Airlines, oh God, that's so nice. But no, but I think that some of it is, and that's the thing of getting into it, is like you're saying with simplicity. Look, I don't mind mutations if they make sense. If it's in the game, we all understand mutations. And I think that's like you said at the beginning. The real question is, do you want, when we talk about mutations, do players start off with beginning mutations? Like, do you have different skin colors? That's a mutation. That's completely cosmetic. In some cases, I kind of like in sci-fi, you get cosmetic stuff that doesn't affect your character, but here you can have it. You know what? That's fine. You want
some
ears.
some mutations are
cool.
Some mutations are adaptive, but they would be like also informed by like maybe even what food or energy is around you. You know what I mean? Maybe be shaped by the environment, but not necessarily any clear advantage.
Or they could even be a cultural thing. Everybody in your tribe has a third eye. Tradarans, or everybody's got, one weird mutation, but a bunch of the same mutations to make everybody, part of the same tribe, but a little bit different. Give you that specialization, you've got wings, so you're the scout or whatever, kind of thing. It's all fun and games until someone gets that third eye poked out.
Well, I'm going to bring this up is, when I said just
Justin?
mutations, is a lot of mutations for they're just
Justin had to be here because of the possibility of a Catgirl mutation.
Well, that's that. But the whole thing that you're looking at is, okay, all she has is little whiskers. You're like, you know what? It looks like an Italian woman to me a little too much. So anyway, no one gets the reference.
I don't know. I think that tail might be a deterrent as well, but that's me. I don't know. The ears, I could deal with that. It's no big deal. Just when they start turning, that might be kind of weird. Justin,
I'm just attracted to the idea of like a lady you could just feed once a day and you don't see her the whole day. Like,
but no, it's the
just get a spray bottle and just
yeah.
You got the house to yourself.
I might try that anyway. You know what I mean? Like, I'll be like, don't make me get the spray.
I could just see James L going to the supermarket. If someone gets a little pestering, just goes,
It's like, that's enough.
Yeah.
They're just making the sound, just.
There's a comedian. Right? There's a comedian. He was talking about like when he's out in public, he'll do this crazy shit. He'll just like he's at the bank. And he cuts in line, and someone says, "Hey, you're cutting in line." He's like, and he puts his arms out and he goes, "Look at the size of my wingspan! I will destroy." And then they just like don't say anything. And he just gets back in line. Just shit like that. He do crazy stuff like that. There you go.
All Mothman on him.
No.
Do you know what James?
Oh, you gotta be kidding me! Guess what? Guess what?
Kid and play.
This is a freaking great day. Welcome to the show, my son away from home. How you doing, buddy?
He heard tentacles and he came on.
What is going on?
We're just goofing off on a Saturday night, man.
I heard you were down at La Playa, which is Spanish for the beach.
I am. I am.
Cool. Nice.
So you're in Mexico, not Venezuela? What's with the accent there, sport?
Just felt like it.
If he was in Venezuela, he'd sound hungrier.
Yeah, exactly. Besides, I wouldn't be here if I was in Venezuela.
Why?
I swear Venezuela got internet access by now. I heard last year they got it down there.
No. Venezuela has it. It's just for the rich people. You just can't get toilet paper and condoms. Those are worth like $800 each.
Oh yeah, there's a story when the Iron Wall collapsed. My uncle was a huge game hunter, right? And he was like one of the first Westerners to go to like the Eastern Europe and do some hunting. And no lie, they brought blue jeans, toilet paper, cigarettes, and they bartered with the local military commander to get like a BMP-1, infantry fighting vehicle, drive them out and have all these escorts and shit, just with that crap. And it was amazing. It was pretty funny what they could get. Everything was free. They didn't eat. They didn't pay for any food or room. They just paid in blue jeans and cigarettes.
I don't know if you've ever seen the East German leader, like Erich Honecker. He really loved hunting in the forest, but because it was East Germany, they had all these beaters like driving the animals out in front of him so he could get a clear shot.
I will say this much, because I was in Germany in '93. They talked about, because a lot of that area had not been hunted, they had some of the biggest. Anyway, back to like your favorite mutation. For your characters, because we need to stay on topic somehow. Because Jack has already gotten the head, so he's already Cthulhu ready.
He's got the tentacles and everything.
Well,
Wait, what?
you're Cthulhu ready. Like how they have Windows 11 ready. You're Cthulhu ready. You're already to go for the whole mutation. Aspect.
You got Cthulhu. You got tentacles on your avatar.
Oh yeah,
Windows
that's from a show on YouTube.
Windows 11 is like Warhammer 10. What, it's taken you this many revisions to get it right? Are you sure?
No. It's not about getting right. This is how many revisions we want you to keep buying.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Oh, I just found the greatest spot in this room to sit. Okay, I am golden.
Mm.
That's an interesting topic. Do you guys buy into the new edition shit?
No, if you see my show, I'm all about the old, moldy, musty, dog-eared freaking games that people, don't even remember. There's gold in them Bar Hills.
I do up to a point. If I get into a game, I can handle like one revision, but that's when I'm gonna get left behind. When there's like another one and another one and another one, then you're losing me at that point. You know what I mean? Like, if it's bringing something to the table or it's clarifying a lot of stuff, because like the rules are sometimes written in a really cack-handed way, like I'll do it. But if it's like,
if it's just like
another
process,
edition is coming out in 3 years, and we're telling you it is, and it's like, but why?
See, the problem that I have with it is I don't mind as much as people talk about. I know Legion Meth bitches about 3 years in D&D. No offense. If I'm going to buy an edition, I understand the first edition is usually poorly edited and everything else. So a second edition is supposed to clean that all up. When you get a third edition, I better see brand new rules and a brand new system for me. I don't want a revision again. Because I'm like, why would I rebuy the same thing I already have? That's what bothers me about it. It's like, okay, you're just repackaging the same thing over, changing things up so you can sell more models and Warhammer or anything else. Unless there's something better. Again, I don't mind editions if they're like 10 years apart. To be fair, I don't mind actually like what they did with Warhammer. Fantasy Roleplay 1, 2, 3, and 4. 3 was completely a new system, but I don't understand why you have to go in all the time. I don't mind new systems if you're going to do new rules. You're going to clarify. If you're going to actually go back and do major revisions, but most of the time it's changed just to go buy new books. And
if it's a clear improvement, I'll buy the game all over again one time. Like, that's basically it. Like, after that, like, it's like you're not really convincing me that, you know what I mean? Like, there's a couple of games I can think of that have a version 3 or a version 2 coming out soon where I'm like, yeah, I might do that, but I won't be doing it again in 2 or 3 years or again. Like,
I've
after
done
that,
a really simple philosophy when it comes to that. I bought a bunch of video games a long time ago, knowing I wasn't going to play them when I bought them. For example, some of the Grand Theft Auto games. Okay,
Yeah.
some of them I got for like $10, even though it was like a year or two after they were $50 and all the freaking rage. Those games, when I plug them in, are still going to be fantastic for what they are.
I think the real question is almost like, how guilty will I feel having the models on my shelf and watching a new version come out before I've even gotten to those ones yet? You know what I mean? Like, that's the real question, is like, how bad will I feel knowing that everyone else is like moved on in the time that it's been sitting there in my pile?
Wait a minute. It's Games Workshop. You won't be able to paint them before they come out with a new edition. I mean, so
pretty much.
But I will say this much, and I just bring this up because we're talking sci-fi here. This is the 3rd edition. I didn't even realize that there was a 1 and a 2. I mean, I don't mind new editions if you're going to actually revamp them to make them clearer and better. And sometimes, like, you can tell, like, especially if it's a brand new system, it needs major rework. Usually, if I'm going to look at it, about once every 8 to 10 years, I'm okay with the new edition, because a lot of them, and I hate saying this, but this is what happens. A lot of them get bloated. They start counteracting each other, and you need to kind of reset it and say, okay, let's take everything in, let's simplify it again.
What game was that, Omen?
5 parsecs from home. It's a
okay.
It's a little war game that's not nature specific. Use whatever nature we have and play.
Hey Jackie, how about you, man? I know you mostly play video games. You're not doing much of the role playing stuff like that right now. If one of your favorite war games that you're playing right now came out a couple of years from now and redid it, would you be inclined to buy the new version of Hearts of Iron or something like that?
Actually, a thing like that just happened. Vicky 2 or Vicky 3 came out a while ago, and I had Vicky 2. Vicky 2 is fantastic. 3, I haven't played it. Don't plan on playing it. Pretty much for the primary reason of I already have the second one. I don't necessarily want to upgrade. And also the third one I've heard has a lot of problems. Like 1, bugs. 2, the combat system has been completely, I guess, overhauled and dumbed down, whilst the economics of the game have been made into the most complicated and micromanaging thing ever.
What is this game? Is this a video game?
Yeah, it's a video game where you control countries and play throughout the 1800s.
Oh, okay.
Or I guess from the coronation of Queen Victoria to like World War I.
It's like big strategy in the true sense of it, right? Where you're really managing like a lot of different aspects of the machine.
Yeah,
like economy and politics and
exactly. And the third one came out, and some people said it was really good. Other people said it was really bad. There were bugs in the beginning, but like the game went full on it. Economics are the most important thing, and wars and combat and all that stuff isn't that important. Like, yeah, it's still important, but it's not as big of a focal point, which of course is something I quite enjoyed, micromanaging the armies and stuff.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I prefer generalship to like building barns. Like,
yeah,
to be honest
exactly.
with you. Like, I need people for that. Like, just give me the army. I'll bring you a victory, probably. Hopefully.
Probably.
Yeah.
You know.
And it's not just go back to the tape, right?
Yeah, I'm going to mention, we're talking.
That's why I play Mexico, and I own like half of North America, like everything from like Panama all the way to Alaska, the entire Pacific coast. That's mine, and yet I'm still like barely a great power because everyone's super poor.
Have you brought back Sacrifice yet, or is that coming?
Yeah, pretty much.
Did you get extra points for every head that rolls down the ziggurat?
Well,
Like-
wait a minute. That
Yeah.
only
That's pretty much
applies
what
if you're not Spanish. If you're Spaniards, then you free them and they don't get eaten. You know, that's the rule.
There's a hilarious video on YouTube of these ladies reviewing Viticulture, which is like a wine growing board game, and they come to actual tears over the colonial themes in the game, and I'm like, maybe this game isn't for you.
Well,
Oh yeah, if you're crying over colonialism in a fictional game,
in
I
a
don't
wine
think
growing
doing anything.
game. Like,
no. What be about it is if you're
Oh
crying,
wow!
if you're crying over colonialism, just go look at what the natives were like, and you come back to me and say, "Oh, they weren't any better. Human beings are human beings. I don't care where you're from. When the mask is pulled off, there's a certain percentage of human beings that are complete psychopaths that like to kill each other and do it in horrible and interesting ways."
well,
You know?
also there's when you study history, you realize how many times like the people you were interested in actually changed sides and had people from the other faction who supported them but like couldn't do anything, and you know what I mean? Like it's always a lot muddier. Like the Sudan campaign with the British in the late 1800s, it's like one of the reasons they were annoyed with the British was that they outlawed slavery.
Yeah,
You know?
Well, you know, that's the whole thing of like, okay, but you know, back to our mutations again, because otherwise I think we're going to completely go off.
I always do that. I'm the most guilty party with that.
That's all right.
Carry
Well,
and then I just
also,
do
I
all of
want
it.
to mention,
I would have
like,
been fine with that.
what if you're going to be part of a crew, what mutations would you like to have that are not completely overpowering?
Mm.
Like what kind of crew? You talking about a space crew? Or?
Yeah. I mean, we're sci-fi, so let's talk about it.
Like a
We're on the
ship
space
crew?
ship. Yeah, we're a ship crew. We all mutated because we're all outcasts. What mutations would you have your characters pick for 2 or 3 that
Fair
are
enough.
not that are fairly minor but interesting? You know, it's one thing to say, "Hey, I have enhanced sense of smell." It's another to say, "I can time travel." We're not talking about the high level stuff, but more of the lower.
Tougher skin. Tougher
Okay.
skin, like more tightly woven skin cells.
I always thought I always enjoyed like being able to be like comprehend all languages kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I always like that kind of stuff, like kind of utilitarian kind of.
Oh,
Maybe
yeah.
understanding people, maybe not being able to write it, but like you know what they're saying, although you can't speak it or something weird.
It
like
could be
that.
like telepathic, where you understand what they're trying to tell you without actually.
Yeah.
Okay,
Or
Jack,
empathetic.
what's yours? What mutations would you pick?
If I had a gun to my head, I would say to be able to have. Okay, if Sue says, "Okay, what mutation would you want?" and they put a gun to my head and force me, because obviously, like Team Human, no, like mutants, get out of here. But if I had to, I would just say the mutation to have a very, very long, stereotypical villain mustache.
Oh, okay, that would be.
Like-
No, he's going for the whole tick thing with the mustache to move around and pick things.
Yeah, like all the way out here.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, like that.
Wait a minute. Does it have a mind of its own where it can grab things? You know?
I can move.
Yeah, that'd be cool. That'd be cool.
Oh yeah.
You can
know,
hide a pistol in it.
And it gets a cigar and comes over, and the other one gets the lighter and lights it, and
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Shadow, what would be yours?
I'm gonna go with claws or something like that. So I'm always ready to go toe to toe if necessary. The Wolverine claw kind of thing was like, for me, that was just, I don't know, that was my thing. That, or maybe some eye blasts, that'd be cool.
No. Eye blasts are too big. You have to.
Okay. Then yeah, I would go with the claws. They don't even have to be like Wolverine claws. Just like an inch or two. I'd be
Sure.
cool with that.
All of a
Oh, I
sudden,
thought you
you get
meant
the
like
claws come out of your
Crane
finger.
claws or something. like the lobster guy
Oh,
that everyone hates.
A cat's
Big
tail.
meaty claws.
Oh,
How about you, Owen?
Futurama? With claw-clack? No.
Give him the clamps.
Yeah, exactly. Well, for me, I like to have so I can change the skin color, so I can suddenly go over and you can start blending into the background slowly, like a chameleon. Or you can,
Yeah, that would be cool.
or you know how like octopus can flash really fast with their skin to communicate. So all of a sudden, like when you get mad, all of a sudden you start having all of your chromatophores start flashing and like, oh, he's really angry now. Look at them flash up and down. Of course, you couldn't lie too well. They're like, well, what's his mood? Just watch that. So, no, he's a human centrist. That's what he is.
Welcome to the show, Dave.
Human-supremacist.
Welcome to the show. Hope you enjoy what you see. You're welcome here anytime. If you're a gamer and a bit of a weirdo, you found your tribe.
Pheromone.
Jack.
Like overwhelming control pheromone. That would be cool.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean,
Yeah,
those are something cool. Like what I want to say is like the Gamma World minor mutations that they have. Those kind of things that are just really cool for that. You get a party all together and you're like, well, we're all mutants. It's the old, not as powerful some of them, but remember in Paranoia, everyone's a mutant, but you have to go hunt down mutants without anyone knowing.
Right.
That's
a good one too. Eidetic memory, photographic memory. That's not a bad one. But I like the visual stuff. That you could see. The color changing. That one's kind of neat. Hell, I'd even go with blue skin or something like that. Just totally. That's it. You're just blue or green. Like Beast Boy or something like that. It's just to be. That's it. What's your mutation? I'm blue.
You don't want to be green. You don't want to be green because Captain Kirk will just jump on you, like no questions asked.
Captain Kirk didn't care what color you were as long as you had blue.
He didn't care what color you were, but he got extra excited if you were green.
Oh.
Wonder what those.
We do this every Saturday night. We pick a topic and then we go as far away from it as possible and try to wind our way back around to it by the end of the 2-hour period.
I crash the plane into the mountain every time.
It's
yeah, but see, here's the good thing about you, James. You don't always eat your fellow passengers.
Yeah, true. True. It's like that, not the 9 o'clock news sketch where they're interviewing plane crash survivors and they're talking about it, and you think, oh, they must have eaten the passengers, and then at the end they're like, yes, I did eat the airline food.
that would actually be a pretty cool one, is to basically be able to eat a lot of different materials. I like those kinds of things. If we all talk about Waterworld, we had the gills.
Thanks, Dave. I appreciate that. Really do.
I think that those are some of the things that we need to. When we talk about mutations, everyone talks about the most extreme stuff and how it alters everything. But sometimes just the little mutations are just so cool. Like, what can you do? And talk about augmentation. Whenever you start looking at Traveler 2300, and then talk about the mutants versus non-mutants and how the mutants are in certain worlds to survive, whether they're cold or they're
You're
hot.
welcome to stay here all night, Dave. We're only going to be here for another half hour. Sorry, buddy.
So
There's a thing that I would like to show you guys before we end. Not now. Probably the last thing. Just letting you guys know.
Oh, okay. We'd love to see it.
It is somewhat on topic.
Justin, you know what? You guys are all friends of mine, and you guys are all cool. You've been with us through thick and thin so far. More thick than thin. I got a few pounds to lose, but I think each and every one of us, except for probably Omen, maybe Brian, I don't know, could probably stand to lose a pound. But
Hell yeah, dude.
Well,
Omen was good for you too, huh?
well, let's see. How much do I weigh? I think I'm 195 at 6'2". It's not that I want to lose weight. I just want to gain. I just want to convert fat to muscle. That's what I want. If I could stay the same weight and lose, a certain percentage of fat, I'd be happy.
What were you gonna say, son? What were you gonna? You were gonna tell us
So
something.
He wants to show us a project I think he's working on.
Let's check it out. Oh, it's up
Yeah,
on the
let's check it out.
ceiling. I can't hear him.
Yeah, I can't hear Jack.
Jack, show us what you got.
A thing's happening. I'll talk in a minute.
Okay. Yeah, he's been working on something that if it's what I think it is, he's working on a little video project, some animation he did, and he wanted to us to check it out. It's actually really good. He did the speech. He narrated part of it and had it translated into a British accent, and did this. It's sort of like well, you'll see, but I couldn't do it. I barely get my shoes on, so
even with all the modern software, animation is really challenging. So I have big respect to anyone with the
It's
patience.
not animation, but I do plan on doing that.
Mm-hmm.
I tried doing it years ago when the computers were a lot slower. It's really cool to look at, but man, it's hours and hours to get very minimal effects.
My father was
really
a cell painter at one point for some of the animation studios.
That's cool.
Anything we might have seen?
Hanna-Barbera, when they had a studio here in the 70s.
That's
Cool. Well, which cartoons?
No idea. He was off his face most of the time.
That means not working.
Well, he didn't last long. He said that he was a bit slower than everyone else, and I was like, I believe that.
You know what? I was thinking when space goes coast to coast. That's why we only see like one still like every 10 seconds.
Yeah. Yeah. He took a lot of breaks.
Your father just got the job at the wrong era. If he had just gone over, into the, once they had Adult Swim with Brack, where the barely anything moves, he would have been fine.
Yeah.
Well, like the old like Marvel cartoons from the 70s, they had like that beautiful Jack Kirby art, but then it'd just be like an arm that moves, back and forth or some shit. That was the extent of the animation.
You know what? I think it's we're just going to have to do. Someone needs to get into this. I'll not say that I have the skill for it. It's the bad tropes, sci-fi. All of the, have to do all of the bad mutations. Everybody was the worst. They keep the same frame and they would just move the camera around the drawing to make it look like it was moving.
Yeah.
It's like, oh look, well we'll do this and we'll just move it across the painting just to make it have the appearance that something's going on.
Well, he was very artistically inclined, and he showed me a painting that he was working on, and it was a little bit heartbreaking, but it was a good life lesson, because it was the painting of a man who would be a great artist if he did about 100 more. You know what I mean? Like,
oh damn.
Yeah, a real lesson in procrastination, guys. Gotta say it. The raw instinct was there, but it was like, dude, you should have spent the last 20 years doing this. You'd be amazing by now.
Did
you ever hear? I was listening to Boris Vallejo, and they were talking to him, and along with Julian. They said, well, what did he do? And he said, yeah, I copied some of Frank Frazetta, but some of the first stuff he did was things for supermarkets. And they're like, you have to get this out within 24 hours. So he learned how to do things very quickly that way. And there's something to be said, just like whenever they talk about pulp writing, if you get used to that very quick mode, you can actually pop out a lot of stuff, but you have to, instead of trying to be a perfectionist, you're like, this is good enough, we'll go through it. And then your skill will improve doing two ways. One, you want to improve it, but you also want to go back and say, okay, I can write for speed as well.
Or even like people like Orson Welles or Truman Capote or heaps of people that who were reasonably successful. You look at their body of work and you're like, man, you kind of slowed down fast, you know?
I think there's external forces with some
Thanks,
people.
Justin.
Yeah.
Well, and some of them just get bored. George R. R. Martin, where he actually, you can tell his heart's not in it. It doesn't take you.
Hell no. He's done. You're not going to get another book out of him.
No. He's been writing all the books except the one he's supposed to be writing. If you actually look at it, he's had like 6 books except the one that he's supposed to be working on. The dance, whatever it is that he's done like Wildcats, and he's done like prequels. He's done a bunch of stuff except the book that he's supposed to be working on. That's a guy that just I hate Highland for doing this, but you gotta give him credit. When he got more with the book, he just stopped writing and was done. Like
I was thinking the same thing, Jack. You look a little bit sunburnt. That like 1/4 Irish coming out, man.
It's not necessarily that I'm sunburned. It's that I'm sitting in what is effectively an oven. I know it's technically a hotel room, but we're being cooked. That's the goal here, I think.
Just be careful you don't end up on the menu.
Yeah.
Stick a fork in him. He's done.
I'm trying to think of who he reminds me of with that mustache. He reminds me of some of the actors and not quite Groucho Marx, but he's getting there.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I was sitting in a decent spot. That's the worst.
Now that you're out of school, you can grow that thing fully, man. It looks like you can grow a full thick one by the end of the summer.
Yeah, no, I know. He is pretty rad. Make sure you take
I'm trying to bring back the mullet.
Yeah.
I noticed that. but I'm telling you, when it's straight on, you look like Kid and Play. With the hair going straight up like this.
Jimmy Neutron. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jimmy Neutron moment.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I don't have as many gamer moments as Justin.
That's true. That's true.
Last time Justin had a gamer moment, he invaded the Soviet Union.
Yeah. That was kind of epic.
I'm going to mention, I guess, what are just some of your favorite mutations that you've seen in games?
Favorite what?
Augmentations, I guess, since we're talking mutations in games for whether it's players or opponents that are just cool and fun.
Honestly, I really like the. That was just this morning, Justin says, James. You know what? I really dig on, and I don't know why, is the water breathing. The gills, things like that. Yeah. Oh my God, can you imagine what humanity could do with that shit? Just being able to go back into the water, and breathe. Not necessarily going down crazy depths underwater, but just the kind of stuff we could do. Let's just say building, going down underwater and making, little underwater cities, that kind of thing.
And Death Ray
What is
Gun.
that?
Mutants.
No.
This is a skirmish game from my beloved Dinesha Games called Mutants and Death Ray Gun, and it's like a post-apocalyptic kind of, you build mutants in it, or purebloods, or whatever you want to call them.
To teleport is the ultimate ability. Period.
I used to agree with you, but I'm starting to think that telekinesis is just superior.
You know what though, is I like that. I like teleport, but to me it's a fairly boring ability just because it bypasses a lot of stuff instead of being really cool. It's just.
Can you imagine what you could do with teleport? Even with the restriction of you have to have been there before. Okay, you have to have been there before. Okay, I'm gonna go to every art museum, and I'm just gonna hang out, and then it's gonna get dark, and everybody's gonna go home, and I'm gonna become the world's greatest art thief and the richest man on the planet within 6 months.
Yeah, but again, my point is, as a DM, I find it fairly boring in most cases because it bypasses a lot of. And that's
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Think
by-
of it this is genuinely how I think of pretty much all powers. What kind of gamer moments can you pull off with them?
Well, I was going to say, I've
What
got
level of gamer moments?
in our
Because
Weird
that
War
is-
2.
Whoa, slow down.
You teleport somewhere, like, okay, you teleport inside of. I was gonna say something, but we're gonna not only get taken off the air, but probably FBI rated if I said that.
Oh, please, no.
We've got a
Yeah, I don't want that to
Weird War 2 super who we call him the
Brian?
portal, and he's able to create a portal. But guess who this guy works for? Works for the Nazis, and he's able to make a portal. So you're having like a blitzkrieg in Mexico City. You're deploying the 21st Panzer Division through this portal. All he has to do is have been there. That's all he's had to do. So then you have these clandestine missions to where like, let's get this guy to Washington D.C. so we can have that check marked, and then he gets back home, creates a portal, and then boom, you got the invasion of whatever.
I think regeneration is quite good.
Monument.
a lot of it is what I find cool is I like, Numenera has a lot of stuff. One of the things I like that they have in there is phase shift, but you can have things go wrong. We get stuck. So you get through a door, and all of a sudden you only get halfway through, and you're like, I'm stuck here for a while, and it's like, what do the players do? It's like, well, we're gonna have to cut you out of the door, until you can face again. Could you imagine the players coming in with the screwdriver and popping off the hinges, and then like, okay, we can take him down.
Get his arm through
Well,
Let me
but
ask
half
you,
your body, so now you
Let
just
me
have
ask the
to,
audience.
those
What mutations do you have if you pick up a
when
mutation?
things go wrong, but they're not lethal, is when I find a lot of mutations fun. It's the if you teleport again, if you kind of do the phase shift where, well, I teleported, I'm halfway in the rock, guys, I can't move. You're like, okay, what are we gonna do with you? Instead of just killing you instantly like they do in D&D. But those,
Or leave you for dead.
yeah. Those are the things that I like is, when they go wrong, like you were talking about the pheromones, and all of a sudden you start smelling like a skunk and everyone can find you. Like all the players get mad at you. Like, we don't want to be in the ship because of you. They put you in the airlock only to prevent you from over smelling everything. Or
I just
what
asked,
even worse is having the pheromones where everyone starts loving on each other. You're like, no, I'm
like in perfume, when he drops the handkerchief and everyone just loses it. I just asked Ray what her preferred mutation would be, and she said to be able to punch people she doesn't like into the sun.
Oh,
There's this one. There's an RPG called Godlike, and it's a weird World War II one. And there's this guy called the Inertia. All he has to do is touch you, and you are the gravitational, your gravitational force or whatever. It doesn't apply to you anymore, and you just fly off the planet. You no longer are bound by gravity on Earth, and he touches you, and you just fly off and burn up in the friction. Just shot off the planet.
That's kind of epic. Does it work on bullets though?
No, I mean, I guess if they hit him, it's just anything he touches. Well, I guess he's got to focus on it. But yeah, I guess if someone's shooting at him, he can focus. But yeah, it's pretty wild. Like, he'll touch a tank, and the tank will just fly up in the sky and just burn up and, whatever. So, but the thing is that he's got to physically touch it. So, otherwise he's a human. He can get shot, he can get burned up. So it's an awesome power, but how do you deploy it in any kind of effective
Okay,
manner?
I'd say that's like a 6 out of 10 game rolling potential.
Invisibility, changing color. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that the only problem I have with
Oh, invisibility. Now that's a damn good one too.
Yeah.
I mean, how many shows have been made or movies or whatever of the Invisible Man? That's one thing I actually do like. You guys reminded me of the mutant powers or even the genetic manipulated abilities that still keep you mortal. Where a bullet's still going to take you out, but you've got this skill or ability or
Yeah.
power or whatever that still keeps you, mortal and killable, and you still have all the same worries, but you have this one unique or a couple or whatever, talents, abilities, whatever you want to call them, but they give you something that makes you literally unique in the world. That's why I like the TV show Heroes so much, because almost everybody in that show, except the cheerleader, you put a bullet in them, they're freaking done. But they had these unique, weird abilities that, and a lot of them were really clever, that made you unique, but highly sought after by the bad guys, etc. But the things you could accomplish with just that one thing where nobody else could do it, I really love that show. Jackie and I are going to have to revisit that show again, just because it was so well written.
Right,
And how apropos with another writer's strike, right, folks?
I was thinking that the good countermeasure to an invisible man is spray paint, but then maybe the last thing you'll ever see is a blue penis flying towards you. I don't know.
Have you been watching the Invisible Man with what was his name, Kevin Bacon?
Oh yeah,
Right. What was that? There was another TV show, The Invisible Man. It wasn't Kevin Bacon. It was somebody else, kind of reminiscent of him. But he could actually do his clothes as well, which because it was some sort of
that's so stupid. That's like some poor writing right there. It's just like, well, let's just have his clothes do it too. Fuck it. We don't want to get down that road.
I was more talking about the way the rest of the show was written, because some of the episodes were actually pretty good. That I get it for that time period. They didn't want to do the having to be naked all the freaking time, I guess.
Was that the Omega Man or something like that? He's like,
I don't think so.
That was the Teabagger Man.
Yeah, look at just random shit.
Well, he was thinking that wait a minute. The Teabagger Man was created in the 1700s during the in Boston.
And he wanted to teabag the king.
Well, yeah. Well, it's when they pushed it all over, and he got caught up in where he got merged with some tea bags from the the Boston Tea Party there. So
yeah, he fell in the water with the tea, and he got mutated.
Exactly, and he got mutated by the tea. Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, I've been told that I am needed, and it's good talking to everybody.
Great having you here, Brian. I look forward to your next show.
And listen, son, you get some water on you, dude. You ain't looking too good, buddy.
I was just in the shower less than 18 minutes ago.
Well, you needed to use no hot water at all. I mean, you're.
Well, yeah, it was actually pretty warm. I tried to get it as cold as possible, like always, it reversed. I turned it all the way up on hot, and that for some reason made it colder until it wasn't anymore.
Well, yeah, because that's all the water in the pipes that were. No, I mean, to be fair on theirs, you look pretty.
Big ear, Brian.
Yeah, you look almost sunburned.
I'm gonna bounce too because I have to work on house stuff.
You gotta see Jackie's thing. Come on. I was trying to.
All right.
See it.
All right, I'll put it on now, I guess.
Okay, I'm gonna see if I can make you bigger.
Not yet.
Before I destroy the house with my handyman skills.
Yes. Okay.
Standing there watching others.
Oh, okay.
Classy place he's at, huh?
Hey,
it's all right.
It's got room.
Okay, hold on a couple seconds.
You're killing us with your freaking dead air and elbow. Come on, man.
That's
the whole world waiting to see your premiere.
Okay, I'm gonna try to put it covering the entire screen. Oh, this is probably
Oh, okay. All right. Unfortunately, we're seeing the.
yeah, the reflection.
Yeah.
That's fine. That's fine. Right there. Perfect.
Is that good?
It
Perfect.
looks like you created your own typeface. It looks like you created your own font.
No, wait, hold on.
The UDSI announces that there has been several connected murder cases in this last month. Through what our agents have gathered, we believe that this is the result of a deliberate attack on our sovereignty by the Republic. We still do not know what they have done, but regardless, be extra careful. Remember to never travel alone, and always carry a DW with you at all times. All of these men were found with missing organs in the following locations. Thomas Saunders, found on the elevator. Pierce, found in the Wellens platform. Roshian Clark, found in the West Tram Station. Stall. Noel Bailey, found in his home. Jamie Cook, found in his home. Lucas Murphy, found in his home. Oscar Barry, found in his home. And Dexter Reed, found in his home. There will be an increase in police presence by 100%, and the camera systems will be updated and expanded. If you wish to hear.
That's what I have so far.
Okay.
That's really good, dude.
There are a couple of bugs that I left in because I thought they sounded and or looked decent for the visuals, I guess. Make me smaller, please.
Oh, okay, fine. We just love seeing you. Okay, I just
I
pulled
don't
it out.
know.
There we go.
So I'm going to bring this up as, we're talking about mutants. Is what about, half-breeds, like, manimals and stuff?
That's
They can be fun.
I've got to put some decals on the outside door, so I got to run. But that was really cool, Jack. That was awesome.
thank you.
You're gonna have to be able to find a way to send it to us so we can hear it a little bit clearer. But otherwise, keep up the good work, buddy.
Oh yeah, once the full product's done, I'll have it uploaded, and if you want, I can show it to you from there. Like actually play it on the video instead of just show it to the screen. Okay, I guess I'm leaving.
No. You talked about cat girls because I just mentioned that there was a mustache on a woman.
Take care, James. I'll call you soon, buddy.
Bye.
I actually kind of I think that the humanoid uplifted animals are probably going to be one of the very first things we actually really see. The Neo dog and things like that, I think are probably going to be one of our first creations as a species. Of new life is going that route, and I think it could be incredible, and at the same time terrifying. It opens up new avenues of slavery, but it also opens up new avenues of creating, the equivalent of alien life on other planets where maybe we couldn't survive, but maybe, cowmen or zebra men or something like that would be perfect for a particular, new world when we finally start exploring the exo worlds. I think
I don't think that's what would happen. Instead, what would happen is you would just get a bunch of cringe gayness everywhere, and it would suck.
I think it was Buck Rogers, the role-playing game by TSR, that actually did that, and had Earthlings creating, uplifted animals into humanoids as playable races and part of the lore for the Buck Rogers 25th century RPG. And from what I remembered, it was actually pretty well done. But like I said, it's going to open up. Are we going to be their gods? Are we going to be their masters? Or are we going to, have to fight, their wars of independence from us? Planet of the Apes kind of thing.
I
honestly think
think I know what the problem is. I think you are essentially just the scientists from Jurassic Park, and also you've seen too many movies. Those are the two problems. You are that guy, and not in a good way, and you've seen
and
too
yet
many.
I'm the most least versed in actual TV and movies out of everybody we know, next to you, which, thanks to Omen and our friends on Connell's show tomorrow, we're going to explore. That's funny because there's so many things I have absolutely no knowledge about when it comes to, movies and TV shows that everybody else seems to know about. I don't know what I do with my time, but okay, I can live with that. I'm the bad guy.
I don't know where it's
No,
bad.
not necessarily
No,
the bad guy, just the dumb guy who, due to his simultaneous
Can you feel the
intelligence.
love tonight, folks?
well, I'm going to say this
You're
way.
literally saying that you think mixing genes with like a freaking manatee and a person is going to result in something good for society.
You need to go back and watch some of the later episodes of what's it called with the Venture Brothers, where they have to fight the manatee guy.
The who?
There's a manatee guy they have to go fight.
Oh yeah, I know. Oh, and James says you could. James says awesome work, Jack. You do minister of propaganda. Justin, I absolutely oppose uplift with every fiber of my being and would implement the death penalty if I had the authority for anyone performing it. I'm not saying I would do it. I just see humanity as a whole trying to accomplish that as something we would do. It seems like something that would be easy to do and that we wouldn't hesitate to do so. And James's father-in-law is currently yelling at the door. Okay, I don't know what the door did to piss him off, but remind him that the door can't hear him.
He's just mad because the door hit him on the back head on his way out. That's what he's yelling at. No, it's,
Though, Shadow, I once caught you yelling at the TV because the Weather Channel was interviewing someone you didn't like. And you weren't just yelling at it. You were on your knees yelling at it.
I don't remember that part, but I know you're probably not wrong. And I am one of many of the cult of the yellers at the TV screen throughout not just this country, but this great world of ours that does so on a regular basis because it's our only option. Because if we were to yell at them in person, they would probably have us carted off and disappear.
Little thing is, did you watch what the Gray Zone did? Oh my God, that was hilarious. With did that. But I don't want to get political. But yeah, he asked her questions. She's like, "Who are you?" And like she's staring at his. Oh, you're from this group. I was like, "Oh yeah, okay." Anyway, but I don't try yelling at the TV. I just try yelling at my son for watching too much TV, and I find that works out a lot better because there's actually a response. You know what, Justin? Obviously, you work for the CBC.
Yeah.
And Jantel is actually having a proper spurg out, listening to in-laws argue.
You know what? There's you know what? There's what is it? The noise canceling headphones. Just put on some nice stuff and go from there. But you know what? But that's always the question. When we talk about augmentation, just a couple minutes left. How is it different if you're trying to get by putting a cybernetic arm if you've lost one in battle? I think what we're really talking about is if you're doing it when you don't need to do it. That's a very different thing. Like, hey, I'll cut off my arm to replace it, rather than hey,
No, thank you.
What's that?
I'm attached to all my body parts, some more than others, and personally, the price tag is going to be high. And what amount of my humanity am I going to lose by giving up something that that served me so well in the past and hopefully the future versus the perceived benefits from lopping off something, kind of like the current generation. I just don't. With that, it's one thing to lose it, regardless of how, whether it be a noble purpose or something, a stupid accident, and then replacing it with what's at hand. But sacrificing something like that for perceived benefit just seems to me like it's going to have some radical karmic price tag.
Well, see, this is why I like Shadowrun, where you lost essence as you started replacing body parts. So you can go full transhumanist, but if you're losing something in the process, that's not that tangible, but it's important.
Yes, Justin. I've been following your news for quite some time now, and you guys are all welcome down here. Just saying.
Well, I only listen to Rebel News up there, so that's where I get most of my information on Canada. And I can only take a little bit. Well, and there's another guy that's like 5 whatever. He does stuff where they make fun of him. It's if you want to talk about people that have been lobotomized, all you have to do is look at our current politicians and how they repeat things like robots. You're like, oh my God, is this what today's becoming? Exactly, I am told at the same joke. Ha ha. If anyone watched Mike Pence Short Circuit, watch Tucker Carlson. He's obviously short circuited. And
Yeah, I support the current thing.
oh, it's the I have a free I'm a free and independent thinker, but you have to tell me what it's okay for me to think. Yes, yeah, exactly. Well, yeah. Well, so our politicians.
Welcome to the show, Colonel Kronk. You just got here at the very last moment. We're about to sign off for the night. We will be back again next week and throughout the week, doing various things on this show and others. Hope you were here for the whole show and got something out of it. I'm going to check out both of the news channels you guys have recommended. Just because I have so many friends up north that I worry about them.
But speaking of augmentations, go look at what Elon Musk and and Bill Gates are talking about planning as far as things that you put in your body to give you self-vaccines, and think of all the horrible ways that can go. Well, yeah.
Maybe Justin, but I need some examples where oh my God, what a gorgeous sunset you guys are missing here. I'm pretty fortunate where we live.
Justin's absolutely right. I 100%.
I agree, but that's still twice as much liberty as you have up there in Canada. I mean, that's what gets me about it is that what bothers me is it's like, oh, we all cared about free speech until the 90s, and all of a sudden free speech was bad. Yeah.
Without free speech, there is no truth.
And if you aren't willing to speak the truth, then you will never improve your current state. That was the weird thing about in Russia, is if you complained and said, hey, here's a better way of doing things, they viewed it as an attack on the system. It was an attack on the system, they threw you in jail. So think.
Who told you that?
What's that?
Who told you that?
Sorry, guys.
Alexander Solzhenitsyn.
Oh, you mean the Soviet Union?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought you mean modern Russia. Yeah.
No. I'm talking about the older times. Well, in any society, if you are not allowed to criticize it and say how to improve things, it won't improve. Then people are just afraid to say it's the emperor's clothes. But they're just that's the other question too. Is we're going to talk about what about replacing your heart and things like that. Well, I got a bad ticker, but when I get a new one, or we talk about knee replacement. Oh, well, let's do this. A lot of them have legitimate reasons for being there, but then the question starts coming down to, well, I want to replace it just so I'm superhuman. Give me all the new drugs. Give me the new body organs. I want a new heart. I want the new kidney, so now I can go drink as much as I want, with the liver, and I can't get drunk. As I can feel drunk, but I'm not acting impaired, that kind of thing. Like, that can be a really, if you want to get dystopian, you can go that way. Or if you want to, where it's like, oh, it's so cool, this is the greatest thing ever. It just depends on the type of game that you have. What was it? Cyberpsychosis and
Ghost in the Shell. Oh,
yeah. Oh, the 1790s. Well, we still have it. Yep. Well, the sense should always be, you should have the ability to point out problems. And actually, that's
otherwise, we just end up with more and more problems that will never ever get solved until you have a society on the verge of collapse.
Even if you have a system that's
willing to fix it.
Even if you have a system, and I'm not bringing up any specific examples, but even if you have a system that's overall good, but if you can't say, well, there's this problem and here's how to fix it, then that's a massive flaw. Because if like 70% of everything is almost perfect, as perfect as it can be, but then you're banned from critiquing that 30%, then that makes that 70% at least 50% less valuable.
I'm going to bring something up, last
Maybe not
little
50%.
of mutation, which is that what's the great thing about science fiction is you can create a similar facsimile of a world without it being the real world to bring up moral and ethical questions that your players can solve in themselves without actually attacking any current system.
Right.
Which
Next
is what
Generation was really good at that, but it was also really bad at indoctrinating us toward the woke before woke was a word.
Yeah.
Well, with that, guys, I gotta let you go. I gotta do a couple of things before I jump over to Nathan's show. If Omen, if you and Jack want to kick back and chat, feel free. The green room will be open. Everybody in the chat, thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight. This has been a really, really fun chat as always. And God, you guys are missing the most gorgeous sunset right now. Wow, it's stunning. And my camera won't do it justice. But thanks again, everybody. Have a great weekend, everybody. Jackie, I will see you soon. Omen, I will see you tomorrow. Looking forward to talking about the movie. Thanks, James, for showing up. Brian, Bo, everybody else in the chat. Thank you guys so much. We love you guys. I will talk to you guys real soon.
Buenas noches.